All right, so at the end last time, we started looking at iOS stuff, but I thought we had some internet issues right at the end, so weren't we about to do something on the when do you want to grab the door so we don't have that the rest of the night? Weren't we about to do something on the website side? Clean that up before we move on. Okay, let's see. So here's our site. We have user1 at user.com. We've got ABC123. All right, sign in. This is for us to select a service. We click snow removal and we say 5 cars fit in the driveway, and then we choose special instructions. Upon purchasing, we want this to go into our list of pending requests, correct? And I think right now, if we look at Firebase, I think there is stuff that's in this database. So here's a service request, but the instructions, the name, all this stuff is blank. So let's dump this for right now. And let's go ahead and get something showing up in there. So we'll go back into our code, and this is going to be on our checkout. So when we are in our index.html, after we go through, let's see, this is our checkout process. So we're already got our number of cars, our instructions are going to check out. If result is success, then we're coming here, and this is where we're trying to create a new service request. So we're sending in the service type. We hope what's the number of cars, any instructions, and the cost. And we're not, so when we collect this, let's go back out here, act like we're going to do so we'll purchase this. It wants our email and card number. We're going to pay this amount. It's getting, so it needs our name. Is this the name of the person requesting? Is that what we wanted it to be? So that's new service request, and this is in user controller. Yeah, we take in type, size, instructions, cost. Well, this should be good enough, at least for a starting point. So the user is going to be the auth data UID. Name we're putting in as type, but nothing actually got saved. Type is the type. Instructions or whatever instructions were passed in. Cost is that. Okay, so let's go ahead and console log some of these things. So let's do type is type. We'll do these on separate lines just so we can see it. And then we want cost and size. Ooh. So let's go ahead and run this again. We'll do snow removal, 5 cars, purchase. Was it 7474 47? 42 42. And then hope we select remember me. Oh, we got to do a phone number. Okay. Oh, I didn't. Let's go here. Actually, we'll go here. Okay. Try that again. Okay, so yeah, type we got nothing. Cost we got the 5,000. Size we got the 5. So we're getting real values for those, but for type we're not getting anything. So let's see how we're passing in type from our index. So there's our scope. Where does type get set? So when we toggle back and forth, that's in the user controller, between the snow removal button and the lawn mowing button, we have something called service type. I think that's the issue. Oh no, we're passing service type in. Oh, we were assuming this was working. But lawn number of cars did work. So we should be able to do a console.log in here and print out our type. Shouldn't have already happened, because that's the checkout configure. So we had type snow there. We had 5,000 there. Success. All right. So it knows that it's snow right here. Steal this. This seems to be correct. The cost was correct. Then we're posting for our amount on success. So we're seeing that. We're inside here. We see scope. Oh. That would be very problematic. What does scope reset do? Well, scope reset resets everything, right? As its name implies. And what are we doing after we've reset everything? We're trying to use the stuff that we just reset. So probably want to do our reset after we go ahead and create the new dude. All right, that should be a little bit better, I think. So as of right now, we should have another thing in Firebase. Let's go ahead and clear it out. That has nothing in it again. So there's our finally reset. We're still not quite getting everything in there we probably want. We don't have things like addresses and stuff, but we can come back through and do those once we have the pieces working. Okay, I think we should be in good shape now. Let me shut this one since we have this one open. Just gonna kill some things here so I have less. All right. So, whatever. All right. So now let's go check Firebase, and we should have real legit stuff in there. No instructions because we didn't put any instructions in, but we have some. We have the name is Snow. No provider assigned yet, as was our original plan. Here's the size. Type is Snow because we just have those two matching. We don't know what we're going to end up having. We probably want to have things like address in here and stuff like that. But as a proof of concept, this seems to be legit. And we see here we now have a new pending request in here. Okay. Now, similarly, if we were to log out and come back in as a provider, okay, well, it knows we're a provider, so now we need to go and just bring that part of the thing up to date. And we can copy most of the stuff from our other thing. If we're authenticated is true, we go ahead and do this, and our role. Here's if our role is a user. Oh, we don't even have our div in there for.
Do we even have signing up yet for the website?
No, that's okay. I mean, those are all things that aren't like logic things, right? It's just a matter of cutting and pasting some stuff. Okay. Let me. Is that the end of that one? See, before we had some iframes in here, right? I don't know if that's going to really help us in this particular case. All right, so this is one div. Those are opening, closing divs. All right, so this is the end of user right now. All right, so this is if we're looking at a provider. And we can put this under provider controller. All right, we don't need this stripe stuff, so let's go ahead and get this cleaned up some. All right, we can, this is all in a table, so we're gonna delete stuff up to this table and then be more strategic about what we delete inside this table. All right, so now when a provider comes in, all they're gonna see is the list of pending jobs and be able to either accept or not those jobs, right? Okay, so with that in mind, our column should be 100% for the width. We probably don't even need to put this in a table, but we'll, tables do benefit us as screens change size. The table will kind of push out to the size. This is kind of related to what we were talking about last time with some of the auto layout stuff. And we'll get back to that today. We're going to do a little half and half so we can progress them both. I think for your homework today, you were supposed to get the authentication working for Android. I'll walk through authentication for iOS, but I actually have an existing project that has pretty solid authentication, so I'll bring that in and walk through it and show you how it works. That way we're not spending 2 hours on authentication when we already have, I guess, what I think is fairly legit. And hopefully we can progress it to get up to near this point maybe, or at least a good way down the line. All right, so we're not doing this whole form thing, so let's at least get to the closing of this form. Okay. So we don't need, I'll just dump it to here. All right, so here's the pending request. We're going to end up wanting to make these links, but let's just get them showing up correctly first. So we'll do an object repeat in service request data, filter where provider is NA. So we've specifically said that anything that doesn't already have a provider assigned, we're going to set it as NA. I'm not sure if that's great programming practice, but good enough for hand grenades, I suppose. And we're just going to show the name of that in that placeholder. We're going to end up making this a link that goes to an on-click here in a few minutes. Let's see. Incomplete jobs. This is something that really shouldn't show up for a provider, but a provider should see probably accepted jobs. That is, jobs that they've accepted that are assigned to them that aren't necessarily complete yet. Okay, so let's we'll keep the width of this guy. Well, actually, we can do probably do something like that. We can have it 50% there, and maybe not end this row. So we'll have two columns next to each other. Half the screen will be the left half will be the things that are pending requests. Other ones are ones we've already accepted but need to complete. And then maybe the bottom will be our completed jobs for half the screen. All right, and we'll all right, so accepted jobs are going to be completed is false, provider is equal to probably this provider's name, so we need to get the top part updated first. Completed jobs are going to be the same thing, so let's just leave these guys as placeholders for now. We won't care what they actually say. So our first row looks like that. Second row will have a single TD with completed jobs. And then maybe we have a, let me steal this actually, just from a layout perspective. Maybe we have a second TD that is like account balance or something like that. And for right now, let's just have this guy just say something like that. That should end the table, that should end the div. Okay, so this is if we're a provider and log in. So let's just refresh this. It's thinking. Did the internet die again? Ajax, Google APIs.com is waiting on. Yeah, so am I here. It's just slow loading that. Let's try Res Hall. Come on.
Must just be the resource that's down then.
Yeah. But what's crappy is that is hosted. Oh, something happened. All right. Oh, it's yelling here. Let's just fix that real quick. because I don't have a let's see, here's our user controller. Oh. Provider controller JS will copy it off of user controller. I'll just copy everything for the moment. Alright, should be able to do that. And this guy is called provider controller. Okay. And let's see, provider controller isn't reliant on these things, so we should be okay. But we do need to import it in our index. So here's our user controller. I was literally about to say that. It's like, was that for the uploading of the Vietnamese Craigslist posting? All right, so now we're bringing in our provider controller. So I think this guy should load now without screaming. All right, so here's our provider. We still have our same logout. Let's see. This guy's not showing any pending requests, so let's go look at that. Service request data, is that something that's in our... Yeah, it's right here. So we need to bring that into our provider controller. Refresh this and we should get our snow. All right, so this guy says, give us the object name where provider is equal to NA. And this is still working on our normal user, right? User1 at user.com. Okay, so that guy is finding snow. Right, and that guy is not. Object in service request data filter provider is equal to NA. Show us the object name. We have our service requests off of that. Oh, we're not ordering by user. We literally want all of them. But actually we want, let's see, right now we don't have a provider type, do we? So we're literally going to show all of them. So if we look at Firebase here, it is something Where provider, well, yeah, I guess we just need to say where provider is NA, but we don't even need to filter that there. We're just going to filter that on the flip side. So give us all service requests. Because we're filtering those differently for the different things. Okay, so we're not service. So we're just going to create an array around service requests. And just give us all of them, not just for the ones associated with me as a user. All right, and there's our snow. All right, well, we probably want that guy a little bit more prominent, so we're going to make it some sort of link or a button. Yeah, a button probably would make some sense, I think. So we can model that after our, well, actually, our link's probably going to be quicker. Well, I like buttons better. I can't make up my mind. So we'll model this after our log out button. That's all the way up here. And here's our button, and it goes to a function behind the scenes. Okay, so we're going to put in a button here. Instead of log out, it's going to have this guy. All right, and when we click, that could get a little bit weird because we're not sure which guy we're clicking on. These guys have a so this is the name, this is the object itself, this is the ID. Well, let's just start off by giving it the name. I think we can do that. And we're going to call this claim request. That's going to take a string in, and we'll just prove that it got sent by throwing a console in our provider controller. So I'm going to go to user controller real quick, and we'll steal this function just so we have a placeholder. Okay, and this guy's called claim request. It's going to be a function that takes in, right now I'll just say name, and we'll say console.log name like that. Okay, so that is here. So the hope is when we click on an accepted, or I'm sorry, when we click on a job up here, we're going to have a button. It'll call the claim request, and I'm hoping that this will pass the object name in from our scope. I guess we'll find out, but we want each of these to be unique so we know which guy they clicked on. And then the word on the button will be the name. Ultimately, I want this to be like the object ID. But let's just get the name there first. Snow, we'll click that. and it looks like snow got past there. So that did what I assumed it would do. I think it's just called object ID. That is what it's called? Okay. That will be pretty sweet if it is. No. Let's see. UID? That doesn't sound right. No, it still doesn't sound right. Even after you said the word yeah. Because we're not talking about a user ID. We're talking about what I want is this unique. Maybe it's just object. I want this.
That's a push. That's
they generate that
it's random
every time that you do push.
I understand. So right now, as a provider, I'm claiming this request.
Yeah.
There's my unique way of claiming it.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, I think, let me try this. I think it might just be object.
Yeah, I know how to.
Is it just object?
It'd be object.name.
No, object.name is,
Object is going to be the whole thing. You want the key. I'm trying to think how you.
Wow, here. We can just search for it real quick.
You might have to
Well, you
say.
can console log it and see what it is. Console log object and see what.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a good, reasonable point. So let's pass in object and let's just, well, I'm already doing that actually, aren't I? I was just guessing it is actually going to search, even though it's coming in as name, it's giving us the whole object. In fact, maybe we just want that. Give us the whole object. And let's see what that object looks like. Completed. Oh, and of course it doesn't. Oh, wait. Is it something in here?
It's ID.
Yeah, ID. $sign ID. So let's try object dot $sign ID. There we go. Because we want to be able to uniquely identify the guy we want to claim. Because effectively what we're going to do is we're going to go in and update that record to include us as the provider.
We had that done at one point, didn't we? You should have that code.
Yeah, we do somewhere. But now we're kind of trucking with correct scopes. So I'm a little hesitant to go back and grab incorrect stuff. It's probably in one of our other controllers here. Content controller or something. Oh, whatever. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to take this object and we want to update his provider to this guy's ID. And for that, that's going to be the UID. This provider's UID is the dude who's selecting, who's adding himself as the provider for this unique object in Firebase, which represents a request. All right, so let's see. Let me just open up another tab for Firebase, Angular. Because I don't think it's a push. Isn't there an up? Yeah. We're using Angular Fire.
Guide. Should be saving data.
Probably this.
Is it Angular Fire?
Yeah, that's what we're using, aren't we? Isn't that what we're not using Angular Fire? Yeah. All right. Okay, so it looks like we can actually just call the save function on it. So I think we can do this. Let me just quickly, so I know who let's do console auth data dot, is it UID like that, or is it $UID?
That's just regular UID.
Oh, it hates that. It's just absolutely not a fan because I didn't put a log on there. I was testing Kersey over here, and well, he's from Indiana. He gets at least 3 tries. All right, so does this look like the provider UID? Okay. So then what we would want to do is we want to send, let me just, I can use, this guy, and we're looking at provider equal to, so we're going to say object dot provider is equal to auth data dot UID, and then object dot $save, like that. And then let's just do console.log updated or something like that, just to let us know that we got to that point. Okay. Back in here, refresh this. All right, well, it worked because that guy's no longer on our list, as much as this dude isn't happy.
Remove your accepted job.
Good. What wasn't this guy happy about? Save is not a function. Oh, did we not even have to save? Yeah, I thought I saw the save function over there, but it seems like just me changing that was all it needed.
Does that change it on your Firebase?
Well, it did. It wouldn't have.
Yeah.
I'll go check it, but there's no way it would have shown up here unless it changed on Firebase.
It could, can it? Because you're dealing with a local object.
Oh, because of the way this guy works. I gotcha. That's a good point. In fact, you're right. It didn't change because this update's live. So what is that save function? Back to remote database.
So it's going to be a Firebase object.
And I don't, is an object a Firebase object?
No, that's.
Is it a Firebase array? Or let's do a console. Console.log obj. We'll comment those things out for a moment.
It's dot update.
Dot update.
That's what you should use.
Well, regardless, save should have. All right. Yeah,
Sure he wants to use dot update? Because he's adding a new.
Yeah, what you do is you go to the.
I'm not adding a new. I'm changing provider to something else.
So what you do is you go to the reference of that. So it would be, where's your? We'll open up your Firebase or your Firebase.
Well, this is the object I'm getting right here.
Yes. Open up the Firebase. Oh, so it'd be whatever the. Is it request,
Provider.
Service request is your reference. So it'd be .child of the $.id.
Oh,
And
well,
then you have to
no.
say
Hold
dot
on. But this is we have two-way binding. So this obj that I have right here is it should be a native object. I shouldn't have to go back to my array. I should be able to tell this object itself to update itself.
That doesn't update it on Firebase. on Firebase's end, it doesn't update it.
Well, it should. I mean, that's the whole point of two-way binding. So this guy used to live inside of, well, he does live inside of an array, a Firebase array. I've now extracted him from that Firebase array, and I have a Firebase object. And I want to tell that Firebase, I've made a change to this one Firebase object, and I want that guy to now make his change true in the cloud. So I should be, so you're saying I need to use .update.
Yes, so what you would do is, you would say, where's your reference to service request?
I don't need that reference. I have the object right here.
Yes.
I should just be able to say, if I change my provider right there, I should then be able to say obj.update. Because I mean, this guy is a Firebase object.
But I think it's saying it's not a Firebase object.
Well, it's saying it didn't know about save. Let's go back here.
I went to the web documentation for it. Then went to saving data.
Oh, it looks like you can turn it into an object. Well, no, it should already be an object.
That's the reference they're using.
Yeah. So since I have the object ID of the thing, so I should be able to add as a child to my base reference to that guy, get the object, change his provider.
So just, that's exactly what I was saying.
But I shouldn't have to do that. I mean, the whole purpose of two-way binding with Firebase, well, Firebase adds a three-way binding, is right here I have an actual object. And if I change that object, isn't that linked in Firebase?
I don't think so. I think you're pulling it from Firebase, and that has nothing to do with it. It just pulled it and put it in.
Well, sure. Let me show you.
The way that it works is when you make that reference to go grab it, if you grab it by creating a Firebase object. So if you dump whatever you grab into a Firebase object, then it'll let you do that. Because I did remove from that, from the little input thing there, like an ng change.
So you're saying he's not a Firebase object?
That's what I'm saying, yeah. So go back to where your ref for that.
This is where I'm getting at.
So service request, Firebase array, which I feel like that
Firebase array should be filled up with Firebase objects.
Yes, and I've definitely done it from within where it runs an expression from the HTML. So
how are you getting? Okay.
Right here, this is my service request data, which should be filled up with Firebase objects.
Yes. So what is object out of?
Object is the guy that was passed to this function from this guy right here, which should be one of the objects inside of my request data.
Yeah, so that should be them.
I'm passing it the whole kit and caboodle, the whole object.
I think so. It's a Firebase array, not.
Well, this is one of the members of that array.
Hold Firebase objects.
Yeah.
That's the feeling, which means that I don't even see something called update. Actually, this is interesting. So I've just changed the thing. Do I have the?
What's that save? Because that one requires a parameter. Because then that's an array.
I think the Firebase array and the Firebase object are different, actually. So.
Well, the Firebase array would be different than a Firebase object, but doesn't a Firebase array hold Firebase objects? Okay.
Now that I'm reading this, now I remember I did not do the Firebase object. I did it with an array, and you can call an array to remove something at a certain. You can pass it a record or an index, and that's what I did. Now.
What is key? So here's my reference. So it looks like I can change something, and then I need to tell my array to save at a certain bucket. I could save at a save record or index. Let's see, just give me more information on save.
Record or index. So you would say save and then
I could give it the whole object?
Yeah, you can do that because I've done remove
Alright.
pass it the object.
So then what I would use to save then is my actual array. This is in my provider controller. That's this guy.
You can still do it from within that HTML in there too. As long as you have something.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You can do it out there. You can do the.
You don't even have to make the function.
I get it. I get it.
You can evaluate the expression if
Right.
you really want to.
So I can tell this guy to $save my object
There you go.
after I change my object's UID before that. So rather than, so you're saying that my Firebase array is not filled up with Firebase objects. Those are two different things. So if I have an array of things, I can change one of the individual elements of that array, whatever kind of animal that is, and then ask my array to save that object, whatever that magically does.
Correct. Because now I remember the difference was if you make something a Firebase object, it's basically like a different type of JSON thing than Firebase array. You would instead, when you do that little like for each in the HTML, you would change it to for like key value in.
Okay. So now I should be able to click on this. It seemed happy there. It moved over there. No screaming. So go over to Firebase. And it is now updated. Okay, fair enough. All right, so if we're dealing with an array, we rely on the array to do saving for us. All right, fine. All right, so now we have a provider listed over there. So the provider can now take a job. Now, to complete a job, so now this guy's listed over here. In order to complete this job, I probably need to, click another button that says complete. For right now, we're basically playing musical chairs. We're just moving guys around. So we go back into our index.html, and here are our accepted jobs, and we want this guy to do the button thing. And I do get what you're saying, that I can put expressions in here, but I think as crowded as the HTML is at this point, it makes sense bringing the things into our controllers to.
It's easier to test to see if it works.
Right. Because we really should be parsing these out into other, but let's keep the train rolling here. So here's my accepted jobs. Complete. Okay. So completed false. Provider not equal to NA. Actually, we want the provider to be equal to, right now we just happen to have one provider where it's not equal to NA. We actually want it to be showing us accepted jobs where the provider equals us, right? So us is, can we say auth data out here? UID. Except auth data looks like it was a these are not part of the scope. So I think we need to do this. $scope dot my UID is equal to auth data dot UID. And now I should be able to say my UID in there. think let's see if it likes that okay. It should show the one thing if it's okay with this. Because we think this is good, but this is actually showing all accepted jobs. All jobs where the provider is not NA, which could be me, you know, the jobs I accepted as well as the 500 jobs other people have accepted. Okay, well, it didn't seem to complain.
What was the difference in that though?
Well, the output shouldn't be different. But if you were a provider and you accepted another person's job, I would have seen it here.
How?
Because this is showing me all jobs where the provider is not equal to N/A.
Oh, didn't you? Oh, it is.
Not necessarily job. I just made it so that it's related to just me.
And then you changed the auth data to.
Well, you don't have access to auth data out here
Oh,
because it's not part of the scope. So what I did is in here in the provider,
that makes sense.
I created a new variable in scope that just happens to be my UID. And I set it equal to my auth data. So I have that. So let's make sure that works. If I go into Firebase here, and we'll make one little change to a C there. Remember, that used to be a B, Chastity. So we'll come back in here. Yeah, now we see that it's gone. If I change it back to a B, now it's back. Okay, so that seems to be correctly identifying things that I selected. So probably what we want to show here for right now maybe is the type of job and the size is some number of cars or something like that, just as a visual. You know, we probably ultimately want to show kind of an address where you'd go for it and that kind of stuff. But let's go back in here. So we'll go ahead and add our button in. We'll call this guy complete request, passing at the object. And close that there. And then we wanted to say object name followed by, what is it, object size. Cars, something like that. Yeah. So it'll say the name, then in parentheses, it'll say like 5 - cars. Snow, 5 cars. All right, so if we accept that, then it's going to move it into our, or rather, if we complete that, so we probably want to maybe say in the button complete. That's going to call complete request inside of our provider controller. So we'll steal this guy. Complete request. Okay, we already know what the object looks like. And to complete a request, we need to set its completed to true. And then tell it to to update, right? So we'll say object dot completed is equal to true. Scope dot service request data dot $save obj. Okay, fair enough. And that should then make the guy disappear from this current list, because this list is only showing things where the completed is equal to false and the provider is us. That's what it's currently showing. So let's go in here, refresh, click this, and now it's under our completed jobs category. Okay, so let's go look at the completed jobs category and make sure it's actually showing us completed jobs for us. I think it's right now it's just showing us all jobs that happen to have completed set to true. All right, so we will go into here, and here's completed jobs. Completed is true, and provider is us. That's the other piece we want to add to that. Okay, and for this guy, maybe we want to say here's the size, here's the cost. We haven't really figured out a cut yet, but maybe one thing we can do is just build in a random business model for right now and just say that the provider gets 80% of what was charged. Fair enough for right now. So that is this number divided by 100 times 0.8. So let's show something pretty similar to what we had before. So it's not going to be a button. This is because there's nothing else to do. It's just showing our completed jobs. So we're going to say let's literally steal this guy up here. And then maybe draw like a little arrow, and then what we can say is object dot cost divided by 100 times 0.8. I think that should actually probably didn't need the parentheses there. That should probably, and that should show us what it was worth to us. So for that one, it should be $40. That actually should have been something you could do in your head, but whatever. There's the 40. Let's put a little $sign behind that before that dude. Okay, and then for account balance, we probably want to sum up all of those guys for I don't total what we've made or something like that. I don't even know if that's even necessary at this point, because somewhere in there we're going to have to keep track of things that have actually been paid out and things that haven't been paid out.
Shouldn't everything be paid right away?
Well, the short answer is yes, but I think that we don't need to solve that problem until we maybe catch the iPhone mobile app up, because I think that the payments are gonna happen on both sides. So this should be what, total paid out?
Admin get the other 20% of that.
Yeah.
He's making bank.
Well, I mean, whether it's 20% or 10%, whatever it is, I mean, he effectively, I mean, you know, you think Uber is doing their thing for their health? You know, so they're connecting drivers with people who need rides, and they're taking their cut in the middle and doing all the work. So this guy's effectively doing all the credit card processing, all the real work, so that the providers can just do what the providers do. So I don't know. Is that really bank? I mean, he made $10. He made $10.
That just seems a lot. When we look at Groupon and stuff,
Really?
they're the exact same. Groupon's basically the exact same.
Well, Groupon works differently. Groupon's model is the cost to advertise with Groupon is about 30% higher than the average cost to advertise, but you only pay Groupon if your advertisement worked. So with Groupon, you know, that's why they say there's so many offers. If, you know, Kentucky Fried Chicken wanted to put out a Groupon, only when 100 people buy that Groupon does, you know, let's say that was what they signed up for, only then does KFC have to pay Groupon for that advertising, because the advertising worked. They, you know, they got it in front of people who actually pulled the trigger and now are going to show up to KFC. So they charge a premium for that. I mean, maybe 20% is too high, but I don't know. Doesn't $50 job? The guy gets $10 for it. That's like a finder's fee. I think that's I don't think that's obscene.
And then the provider's still making good money.
Yeah, making $40, and he didn't have to work for it. He didn't have to go and drum up the work. He clicked a button in his browser and showed up with a snowplow. I mean, so there's a perk to that. If you don't have to drum up business, you can just do what you're good at. Yeah, this is the old broker model. Okay, so having said that, account balance, let's just do a running total just so we have that to grab from at some later point in time. That's going to be this guy. Let's see. We can probably put...
You create another variable of cost inside the JavaScript, so that you don't do the math in there and then you do the
Yeah, the question is can we could do it in our scope. I think we will effectively have to calculate this. I don't think there's a way for us to do it out here to set a variable. So what we can do...
Is there a way to put it in an array?
Well, we already have it in an array. I mean, is there anything that really just keeps us from...
Well, I mean, putting all the costs in the array. The costs.
Well,
every time you have a...
But can we save from out here? I don't think we can save from out here. So I'm not positive about that.
If you could put it just like if you just put each one in a different bucket in the array, then you can just...
Well, we already have it in the bucket of the array. I mean, we have an array of objects, and each one of those objects knows about its cost, and only certain ones have been completed, so we can only keep those costs. So what we can do here is we can give ourselves another scope variable, you know, maybe like scope.myAccount total or something like that. And this guy starts off at 0, and then we want to loop through every element inside of service request data. So here, what is it? Let me just, I think it's for whatever, like for obj in that. So I think it's for obj in this guy, do something. And what are we going to do? We're going to ask if obj dot completed is equal to true, and obj dot provider is equal to $scope $my UID, then $scope dot my account total plus equals obj dot cost divided by 100 times 0.8. Like that.
You need parentheses around the for object.
I don't think you do. Let's look up JavaScript for each. Oh, it might actually be for each. For each instance in objects. Oh, we can do something like that. But will that work for, that's for traditional arrays. Does that work for
I mean, it should, shouldn't it?
Firebase? Well, this guy is a Firebase array. Might work differently. Firebase. Let's do JavaScript iterate over Firebase array. I'm pairing with somebody's. I was pairing with somebody's Nexus apparently. Popped up my Bluetooth. I think this might just work. Yeah, well, we need to change it to be the normal for each. So for
So basically what it was saying was you're passing it, giving it each.
let's look at Firebase array. Record. For each Firebase array. Okay, Angular dot for each.
And you give it the very array.
wonder what key would be. Yeah, it looks like something like this should work. For each with a function. Let's just steal this so I don't have to. Our service request data. And each time through, we'll put OBJ in there. Each time through, we'll ask this question. Get rid of that. So when all is said and done, my account total should be the actual account total, which means that out here, we should be able to just say my account total like that. Account total, my account total.
You want extra for the that matters.
All right. So this guy should say 50 over here now, or 40 rather. It does not. Okay, so let's console our see if we're ever getting into that loop. We are not. Okay, so that's not going to cut it.
What was the angular
Yeah.
for each was that you gave it the array that you wanted. It's up a little bit. You gave it the array you wanted.
Angular for each, give it the data. This is our data. I want to know what key is.
I wonder if it's the value of 0, 1, 2, 3 in the array.
Yeah. Still never went through.
Once that, if you went back, it was wrapped in a different scope that users downloaded, then whatever that is.
Oh, this is after.
Something's changed.
Yeah, this is like after it's actually has data to work with. Okay, I think let's steal this. The issue here is that this is all happening linearly. There's no guarantee that there's actually information in here at this point in time. So when I calculate, this is an asynchronous call. So when I'm calculating this, it's going through 0 times because this data has not come back yet. So that's why they something like this. Here's our data. Once it's actually loaded, do this stuff. What stuff am I going to do? I'm going to get my this should add it to the scope anyways. And then we'll do Angular for each on the data. We'll go ahead and steal our guts there. Paste that in there, paste that in there, indent. So once this data has actually been loaded, then do this function. Here's the actual data, zero out my account total, go through every element of data, check each one. We'll say we're checking something. We should see one thing here, then one key. You're suggesting it might be a 0. I'm guessing it might be that unique ID for each one. And then we're asking our question and adding it to our running total if we should. All right, let's give that guy the old college try.
Value to OBJ.
We probably should. Thank you. Okay, I didn't like some missing stuff.
Missing. Okay, so right there you put
This guy needs to
the parenthesis.
that. Woot. Oh, you were right. Key 0. Star for the day. Save these up. Save those stars up. You might get somewhere. Even for being from Indiana. All right, so that's our account balance. So then out here, let's throw a little $sign in front of that guy. Like that. Get this again. Okay. This looks kind of garbagey, but well, whatever. The data's there. Let's see, so then the last part would be for an admin. We were going to make the payouts automatic, right? So as soon as somebody completes the job.
As soon as they request the job.
But the provider doesn't get paid.
Yes. Until they complete.
Right. So the customer is charged immediately.
Yes.
Fine, and we're doing that.
Yeah.
The provider doesn't get paid until they complete the job, but something we'll have to figure out is, do we click complete and then they get paid, or does the admin have to see the list of completed jobs and then ultimately verify that it's been completed and pay out? Maybe initially we do that. Just to fill in an admin side of this, because that'll be fairly quick. And just give a button of all the completed tasks that they could find out more information if they want. We won't put that in there, but just an initial button. All right, so this is if we're a provider. And this is if we're an admin. I think we might sort of be getting the hang of this Angular stuff. Knock on wood. The whole world's going to rip apart now. All right. So if the role is admin, admin probably should be able to get kind of a snapshot of all pending requests.
I think everything's fine, right?
Yeah, this should be fine. Except they don't need a button to accept it. So this is just going to be the and really, shouldn't this be?
That should be the same.
Let's go ahead and take this. I'm going to put this up here, and we're going to call this. It actually won't be except on here, but we probably want to have it be except up here. So when a provider sees it, the button will say accept job of this type with this size. So they kind of know what they're getting into, at least in our current version of this. Okay. And then we can always mess around with fonts or something for this as well. Let's see, pending requests. This is for an admin. So let's go ahead and create our. Well, we're going to still have to make our admin controller, but yeah, this will show us the pending things. This should show us the accepted jobs, except for all providers. That is not N/A. Was it like this, not N/A like that?
There should be one up top.
Yeah, there was until we took it out. All right. Oh, we'll figure that out. We'll see if it shows up or not. And this has a button as well, but we don't need to give a button for that. Let me make sure I'm still in the admin. Yeah, I am.
It's inside.
Like I have it? Okay. Then here's the end of that button. And then here's completed jobs. And then for us, so this is going to be the same thing. Oop. Not N/A. And we are going to make this one a button. Let me steal a button from up here. So we'll call this guy Payout Provider. So call it Payout that guy. And this is the amount that would be paid out, just because we're just randomly picking that. Probably should be a global, but whatever for right now. Okay. Then we need to have our / button on that. And the account balance for this should be 10% of the stuff that's left over, right? Okay. 20, yeah. The 100 minus 80 is 10. Oh well, I should ration. All right. It's an important. Man, I think my knuckles got sunburned. Is it?
Knuckles?
Huh?
Your knuckles.
Yeah, isn't that like a weird thing to get sunburned?
From golfing?
From golfing.
You don't wear
They've been exposed.
gloves by the your hands, do they?
Huh?
The gloves? You don't wear gloves?
I do. I'm left-handed.
Oh.
So this is my glove hand. Yeah, so even a lefty could beat you at golf.
So how would you ripping a club down? I'm trying to think.
Well, I also fished for about 6 hours. This last.
Okay.
I'm sure that's where it happened.
Sure.
Because this is the beer hand. So you kind of. Oh yeah, that's it's major sun exposure.
Are you saying that your hand was in this position?
For a long time, yeah. There's fish. There's no fish in there yet. Zero fish. Water temperature was like I think it was like most of the place we went today was like 60.
Oh, the water temperature was?
Huh?
Really?
Yeah,
That's pretty high.
yeah. 55 is when the bass start biting, but I don't think anybody told them that yet. But yeah, we took it out today, and that's when we discovered that Largen had said that he's like, oh, I'm going to fix this battery with this JB Weld stuff that apparently doesn't conduct electricity. Yeah, so we're like 2 miles out, and my trolling motor is like out of battery. So we were fighting the current, and off only one of the 2 batteries for the 24-volt array. At least my big engine worked. That's the first time I've had to limp back in on the real engine. Usually it's the other way around. All right. What's up?
That's what you get for trusting the Argent.
Should just call that. He's a 97% kid. Like 97% of everything he does great. That 3% is pretty important. 3%. So yeah, that's things of like engines have fallen off things.
Paxton is at 99%, and the 1% is Hello World.
That's right. That's right. All right. So this will be our payout button. And this object already knows about the dude, and it's going to call our payout provider passing that object. That should be good. Account balance is going to show the other part of it. Let's go ahead and steal. Let's just steal everything from our provider controller and create our admin controller. Okay. We're not going to need a UID there. Still need the service requests. This guy, we're going to still, we don't need the printouts. We saw that's legit. If it's completed and we don't actually care who the provider is, we're going to keep our 20. Right? So this should be my account total for an admin. Is the 20% of everything that's been completed. Okay. And then we said we're going to have a function here called Payout Provider. Okay. And we'll leave this blank for the moment. All right. Let's log out of here. Come in as admin@user.com. Ruh-roh. Oh, hold on. We didn't change it to oh, we did. We did not. Thank you. There's our admin controller. I have a feeling there's probably something else. Oh no, that's legit. It's a beautiful button. I wonder why it thinks that's 100% to here. Whatever. Or are we? Oh, are we still in? Ooh, it's mobile mode. Legit. All right. So, and this guy shouldn't do anything right now. Okay. So that looks pretty decent. Let's just log out real quick, come back in as our normal user. And we'll do some snow removal. We're going to do this is the church parking lot. Don't hit the kids. Purchase. What's this? Well, I bet you the churches pay quite a bit to have their lots plowed. I mean, because they don't really have an option to like delay. You got a lot of elderly people walking down on the ice, so that's just a lawsuit waiting to happen. Okay, so yeah, here's our request that's pending right now. Let's just, for the sake of completeness, go ahead and make that show like the size of the this guy. Waiting for a provider. Okay, so that looks legit there. But now let's log out, come back in as a provider. Okay, provider is going to accept this one. It moves into that category. Now let's log out. User 1. Okay, here's our incomplete jobs. Probably want to have it say something other than that, but this is waiting for service completion. Okay, and then here's the jobs that have already been completed for this. It's completed service. Okay. So that looks legit there. It's an incomplete job. Let's log in as an admin. Oop, it's not gonna. Yeah, so here's the one accepted job. That hasn't been completed yet. Here's completed jobs for us to pay out. Okay, and let's see. So how are we going to end up doing payouts? Does Stripe pay send payouts with Stripe? Let's see what that looks like. Okay, good. That's what we want. Okay, so this is using their API. We have to enable transfers first. Okay, we want to switch to manual transfers. The way I understood that, let's switch it back. Oh, it looks like automatic transfers would be to us, but then we can send stuff to other people using the API as well. Let's click on this. Okay, it's charging through the platform. Might as well look at the you can collect recipient bank account details directly with your API or with Stripe.js. All right. Okay, so this looks pretty similar to what we did for collecting a payment. And this will be our handler on our node server. So currently in here, all right, so that's checkout configure. This is setting the properties for that guy. Let's see, we just get the screen to pop up first. Okay, I think we're already doing half this stuff. I wonder, is stripe checkout the same as, it's not. So stripe is a different dude. Yeah, this is stripe checkout. Wait, oh, it's the same. It's collect credit card information. We're already doing that. PK_test. Okay, so this is the handler for Stripe checkout, but they're suggesting that we can actually set that ahead of time. Just want to do something here. So let's go down to our I'm going to steal this JavaScript and let's put it down in the admin section. All right, and we're not actually doing checkout. We're loading in the whole Stripe library for this one. So that's a different thing. I don't think we need the source, or the type rather. Okay, so we have that. And then they're suggesting we do this to set our publishable key. I think we can take out that stuff for right now. Okay, so we have our key. That is not for paying out people. Okay, so here's collecting bank account. So Stripe bank account create token. So we have a create token up top, don't we? Stripe bank account, JavaScript. Collecting recipient information. I think we're just spoiled. We have to create our own web form for it. We're only grabbing 3 pieces of information.
For what though?
For like the bank account number. This would be for the, actually we probably need to have this in the provider, not the admin. But the provider would need to be able to put in their bank account information, put in their just the stuff to validate a routing number and account information, so that the admin can then just click a button and have Stripe pay out to them. So probably makes the most sense for us right now to stick with the status quo. We can pause the web app. So this is, if I'm an user, all right, I'm going to get rid of this for right now just to not muddy the water. Let's make sure the page is still working. That appears to be working fine. Let's say at least ish. Okay, so then let's go ahead and get add dot get status. So there's some new files. Get commit -m class 4.18.16 get push-u origin master. Okay, so we're going to say that our website is up to date. So let's take a 20-minute break and we'll come back and we'll work on the iOS stuff and kind of bring that up to date.